Good morning to everyone. Welcome to this roundtable, current situation and trends in South markets towards Spain. I'm very happy that DestinaXtion, connecting tourist players, organized by Turobserver, has brought us together in a roundtable in which I have the pleasure of moderating the interventions of professionals from the world of tourism of such renowned prestige. Steve Heapy, CEO of Jet2 Holidays, welcome. Gabriele Burgio, CEO of Alpitour World, welcome. And Arturo Ortiz, Director of Tour España in Berlin, welcome. To locate ourselves, I'm going to convey to the followers of this table some lines of your professional careers that will contribute to contextualize your contributions. Steve Heapy, Chief Executive Officer at Jet2 Airline Company and Jet2 Holidays. Steve worked for 17 years at a financial services company in several roles, including finance audit, computer audit, risk management, and project risk management. In 2002, he joined my travel as head of risk management, and shortly after was asked to join the turnaround team, reporting to the Chief Executive Officer, Peter Mathieu. In 2005, Steve became Deputy Managing Director of my travels, non-risk business. And in 2008, he integrated the non-risk business of my travel and Thomas Cook, becoming Managing Director of scheduled business. Steve left after 1 year and he wanted to join a company with a different culture. And then he joined Jet2 Holidays in November 2009 as Managing Director. At that moment, the tour operator was in its infancy, having operated just for a little over a year. Steve was given the responsibility to grow the brand, and after a successful 2 years in this post, Steve was appointed as Chief Commercial Officer. And then in 2013, Steve was promoted to Chief Executive Officer at Jet2 Company Island and Jet2 Holidays Tour Operator, and appointed to the Dark Group board as an Executive Director. In 2020, Dark Group became Jet2, following the sale of Fowler Welsh, and Steve was appointed as Executive Director and Chief Executive then at Jet2. Since then, Steve has recruited a top-class team to grow the company airline and Jet2 tour operator. And as we all know, Jet2 Airline is now the UK's third largest airline, and Jet2 Holidays is now the second largest tour operator in the UK. Let's go for Arturo Ortiz, Director of Tour España in Berlin, a great collaborator of our Hotel Federation. He's been in Mallorca on several occasions participating in our Asian Markets Conference. Arturo is a lawyer, born in Girona and raised in Madrid, who has worked for Tour España since 1997. At the end of 1998, he launched the tourist office of Tour España in Moscow to open the Russian market and those other countries of the former Soviet Union, such as Ukraine and other countries of Central Asia. Between 2004 and 2008, he was director of the Foreign Office of Tourism of Düsseldorf. After a few years at the Tour España headquarters, he took over another emerging market, India. He lived in Mumbai for 3 years, one of which was responsible for Southeast Asia, Australia, and New Zealand. Since 2017, he has been tourism counselor in Berlin and coordinator of the German market and the markets of Central Europe. Mr. Gabriele Burgio, CEO of Alpitour World. Gabriele Burgio was born in Florence and is a lawyer specialized in private international. He began his career between Italy and New York, working as a professional at Bankers Trust. In 1993, Steer Group appointed him as CEO of Cofir, a holding company that operates between Spain and Portugal, and that year he moved to Spain between 1997 and 2011. He presided over NH Hotels. That was a small company by then, specialized in 3- and 4-star hotels, that under his mandate expanded to 25 countries and increased his portfolio from the original 66 to 401, reaching position 19 in the world ranking. Since 2012, he's been the president of Alpitour. Under his direction, the group begins its transformation and incorporates press tours, a tour operator specialized in the Caribbean and American continent. And in 2016, it entered the Swan Tour with a 49%. And in 2018, they acquired Eden Viaggi. Today, Alpitour operates as a tour operator on airlines through Neos, has the Boy hotel chains, and has a division in Spain, Jumbo Tours. So now, Steve, Arturo, Gabriele, everyone, let's start with the roundtable. Based on the fact that this panel aims to analyze the current situation and trends in the South markets towards Spain, I think it's convenient to analyze how the behavior of the season has been during the last months in Spain. Of course, this atypical season have highlighted the international markets that have performed better. French market has been the first market this year with a 20.6% share and 1 point above the German, 19.4%, which is traditionally the second issuing market to Spain behind the British. But due to the circumstances that we all know, government decisions, the traffic light system, this summer, the British just accounted for 9.4% of the market share in the whole Spain, from June till August. Precisely, that was half that of French this year. In the case of the Italian market, it's been 5.2%, 5/10 below the Nordic market and 2/10 below the Belgium, which is 5.4%. On the other hand, just to make comparison, in Mallorca, the international guests were the most important. The German market represented 35.4% of the market share, the British 14.5%, the national 11.2%, French 8%, and Italian nearly 2%. The regions in Spain that have received the most tourists in order of priority were Andalusia with 19.5%, Catalonia 18%, Balearic Islands 11.5%, Valencia 10.2%, Madrid 6.5%, Canary Islands 6.25%. If we talk in terms of overnight stays by the different regions, the Balearic Islands occupy the first position with 19.7%, followed by Andalusia 19.3% and Catalonia with a 16.4%. So we can see that national tourism has been the prominent one, especially in the peninsula, with nearly 58% of overnight stays. But on the other hand, in Mallorca, the national tourists, for example, only represented 11%. That was just to give you a rough idea of the numbers, so we can all have a little summary before we start to debate on that round table. We have all witnessed a series of changes in the way the clients consume or do tourism. So everything is changing very rapidly. We have to all adapt to the new opportunities we were seeing. All changes like selection, flexibility in cancellations, working just 14 days ahead. I mean, sustainability, innovation, digitization are tools that are trying to make that transformation on destinations. We have to take advantage of the changes. Apart from the bad or negative consequences of the pandemic, we can also see opportunities there. On the first block, we will talk about the situation of the demand and knowledge about it that our panelists will have. So feel free to contribute what you consider, as we previously were mentioning. So we'll start first with Steve or Gabriele, and I will just give you some questions and then they just answer the way you feel free. Much work has been done to regain confidence in destination Spain after the pandemic. Do you think we have succeeded? Is Spain perceived as a safe destination for airlines and tour operators? Can you indicate the set of Spanish destinations, which ones are in the top 3 of your sales and for what reasons? Steve?
Yes, thank you.
I don't listen.
Done an incredible amount of work. Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you, Steve. Could you repeat it, please? We didn't hear how you started.
Yeah, of course. Spain is perceived as being a safe destination. The hoteliers and the local governments have done an enormous amount of work to reassure customers that hotels and resorts and airports are safe places to go. The biggest problem that we've had over the last few months has been the British government, who has been the most cautious in Europe, allowing people to travel, and that has caused an enormous amount of a lack of confidence in travelling. Since the government's announcement 2 weeks ago, confidence has improved massively, and people now feel much more confident to embark on a flight abroad. Spain is in a very good position. The hotels, as I said, airports, etc., have done a lot of work, and we are seeing a rebound in booking volumes at the moment. The biggest destination for us is Mallorca, followed by Tenerife, followed by Ibiza. And it seems to be the Spanish islands that are the stronger destinations. I don't know whether that's because people think islands are safer, but they're certainly the ones that are booking the most. And it's also very good to see Ibiza being a very strong destination, despite not having the norm. People are discovering the true beauty of Ibiza and going for different reasons. And it's very good to see Ibiza full of different types of customers. So I think Spain's done a good job. There's obviously more to do. We need to get more people going to Spain, and this is a job for governments. Many governments and hoteliers in different destinations are spending an enormous amount of money to try and get customers to go to their destination. So for summer 22, it's going to be very, very competitive indeed. And I think we have to work together to try and get as many people as we can going to Spain. The competitors for hoteliers aren't just their next door neighbour, it's the next country, it's Turkey, it's Greece. It's going to be a very difficult time. And if I may, one more thing for the local governments. One trend that we are seeing for summer 22 is the number of private transfers that are requested. And this has doubled. The number of customers that want a private transfer instead of a coach transfer has doubled. If this carries on, there will not be enough private transfer capacity. So the local governments need to look at this and issue some more private transfer licenses. Otherwise, there will be huge bottlenecks and huge problems in resorts.
Thank you, Steve. Nice. It's nice that you mention it, because we always had lots of problem with that. So I think it is an important trend to take into account. Gabriele.
Yes, thank you. We have gone through a very uncertain season in the beginning, because I'm totally in agreement with Steve. The problem was not Spain. The problem was this side on the Italian government. We had to manage, I would say, 2-3 basic. The first one was that the Italian government around Easter issued a regulation. Incoming passengers into Italy had to do a 5 days quarantine. Of course, this would apply to Italians going to Canary Island, and this is a typical season for Italians to go to the Canary Islands. the law was issued around Easter, and we had massive cancellations, because certainly if you go to Canary Islands for a week, if you have to spend 5 days at home when you come back, I don't think nobody has 2 weeks to dedicate to holiday, you know. So that was absolutely a disaster. We all had to make a lot of trips to Rome, to governments, but you know, when the bureaucratic machine takes certain speed, it's really impossible to slow it down or to make it change direction. But when we were able to have this quarantine nonsense being cancelled, a note from the Ministry of Assuntos Exteriores, the Foreign Affairs of Italy, issued a note by which in Spain was not guaranteed the sanitary safety. I mean, it would not be guaranteed. If you got sick, you could not be taken care by the local hospitals and clinics, which is something unheard of. I live in both countries, and I would not say that Spain has these difficulties in the hospital systems. So what happened is that I called the president of Mallorca, Francine Armengol. I spoke to the Italian ambassador, and apparently this was something that came, they don't know how, but it went through all the system, and it was issued as an advice to the Italian tourists going to Spain. Massive cancellations again. So I think that the issue was not, and when the business picked up again, we had the 300 students that got sick of COVID in Mallorca, which was another news to be handled and to be explained. To say that it's been a very difficult period for Italians going to Spain, and we made a big effort as Alpitour. We made all the possible lobbying, presentation in Rome, and we had a big always support by the Spanish government and by the Spanish authorities. So Spain for the Italians is a big market. I would say islands, again, as Steve said, I don't know why, but islands, we are not able to send Italian to the Spanish coast. So Canary Islands in winter, just to make it very simple, and Baleares in summer. And we have a lot of flights, our own flights going to both directions. I think we have today 75% of the Italian tourists going to Canary Islands, so it's a massive business for us. And you know, we are looking forward to start again. And now, since yesterday, Italians were not allowed to go outside of the the common market of Europe for tourism. So we could not go to Egypt, we could not go to any countries except Europe. So since yesterday, we have been allowed 6 destinations. Let's see what this makes in terms of flows. But Spain will certainly regain its position very rapidly. I mean, we need it.
We all need it. Thank you very much, Gabriele. We're going to have to spy and monitorize these flows. How can it be affected? But it's incredible how that sensation of the islands, no? But we were really sure that if we could control strictly the entrance at the ports and airports, it should be for once in a lifetime easy to preserve that safety in the destination. Arturo probably will let us know about that. No, Arturo? Now it's your turn. You can let us know, because you always are working and talking and inspiring, no? And also monitoring how is the demand towards Spain. So let us talk about your impressions, please.
Spain has been seen through this year and the last year as a safe destination. You were talking about how, if we are safe, and how do tourists perceive us. It was before that a different aspect of security and safety. It was before the pandemic. It's now, and it's going on. So we have seen a recovery of the market through this year. It is important to say that we were a high-risk zone for some European markets at the beginning of the year. We are not anymore. So taking apart the British market, which was kind of closed, German market picked up quite well after or just after Easter holidays, because we were high risk zone for Germany for several months. The French market was a bit ahead of it, but most of the months German market was first. The last data that we have from the month of July, again, the French market picked up before the German market slightly. Now with the winter season on the Canary Islands, it will reverse probably. But even in that scenario, the German market was, in terms of expenditure in Spain, plus 50% above the French market, 50, plus 50, which is a very good thing looking ahead. Right now, how the German market is behaving, the main market for this year, the bookings are picking up. The booking timing that Germans used to have very much ahead of their travel holidays has slowed down, which means Germans are not booking so early as they did before. They have not gone either to the very last minute bookings. We are somewhere in between. The question in the future for the next year is if they will book as soon as they used to be. Normally, the higher booking months in Germany are January, February, and part of March. We will probably see delays on that. That has changed as well our perception about how the market is behaving. We have seen big drops in the German market because we were shut for them because of the quarantines they had to have when they returned home, when they were not vaccinated. And we are seeing high rates of bookings. Some of them have to be read in the sense that they were not booked before, they are being booked now. It doesn't mean that the market is skyrocketing. The high season is gone, which that affects the main destination, which is Mallorca. Maria already said, I think almost 40% of the Germans go to the Mallorca Islands during the high season, which is very much linked as well with the school holidays in Germany. But now the season starts in the Canary Islands, which receives roughly about between 200,000 and 300,000 German tourists per month on a normal year. We are far ahead of that, but we are heading towards that. So to a very normal winter season with focus in the Canary Islands, the main known destinations for Germans will be the first to recover. That's maybe the main message about recovery. Those who know Spain will come back before those who doesn't know Spain.
Thank you, Arturo. I was thinking about all your comments, and at one moment, I think it was Steve you were mentioning about the situation of when and Gabriele too. You know that we had some health indicators that at the beginning were the only ones that were providing information to the governments in Europe. But in the middle of the season, they started to take into account all the variables that were also important, like the hospital pressure that we have in all the different regions, like Gabriele said. At the islands, because we had an increased number of COVID, we thought it was perceived as it was not safe destination. But on the other hand, the hospitals did have space. It was all well managed. We also have those bridge hotels, as we call it, where if somebody had symptoms could go there and it didn't cost anything. And also the symptoms were really, very not really important, and everything was under control. So and also the genomic, the studies, the analysis of the different virus that we had by the university. So it is important that the hospitals are also giving that information transparently and actualizing all the information every day. Health authorities and economic operators and all the stakeholders from the touristic industry, we have been trying to communicate and to understand each other. And that has been a big barrier. And as you mentioned it, bureaucratical, and I will say they don't have the same rhythm as we have on the private sector. So we have to find that they can sort out the situations as this year. You were mentioning too how different governments have taken decisions and have affected the way you could recover, not only your own firms in UK, of course, but also how affected the demand towards Spain. So you think a great, maybe Steve, one was a failure, but do you think they did had a position in a certain time that was successful? For example, I know they just reacted some days ago and you see a big change now. So that may be a success, but if you can mention other ones that affected us directly.
I think the big problem is that governments, understandably, were very cautious in the early days, and politicians don't want to take risks, obviously, and they listen to the scientists. And I think the problem was that scientists are very cautious people, and they were effectively making the decisions. And I think that politicians were too cautious. They said they would look at the data early on, and they didn't look at the data. They kept putting another hurdle and another hurdle in place before they would unlock travel. And I think we're at the stage now where hopefully we're on top of the disease. Many people have been vaccinated, and I think we should stop reporting infection numbers. It's almost irrelevant. If people aren't going to hospital and people aren't going, they're not becoming seriously ill, and thankfully not many people are dying, why report the infection numbers? It's just perpetuating this situation where people are terrified of the virus, and we have to learn to live with it like the flu every year and other diseases. And in the UK, other illnesses have, the numbers have gone through the roof because they've not been treated either. So I think the governments have to take a bit more responsibility and stop hiding behind the scientists, because the scientists will always be cautious, will always take the most cautious route to reduce every little bit of risk. But life is risky, and we've seen the damage that a lockdown can do. And the effects of the lockdown will be seen for another 2 or 3 years. They will take a long time to unwind. And the biggest thing that's been hit is confidence. And that's why the markets have been down and why the markets are coming back slowly, because people still don't have the level of confidence. They think that their destination might be closed down when they're abroad. They think they might end up in a quarantine hotel. And that's what they're scared of. They're not scared of catching the virus. They think there is a very low risk of that. What they are scared of is being caught up in government bureaucracy and rules that will affect their life after the holiday. And I think that's what we have to really push for. Governments have to return to normal. They have to put things back to how they were. Stop reporting infection numbers, which are becoming more irrelevant. And we've all been vaccinated. That's what we pay our taxes for. We've all been vaccinated. We have to get back to normal. And travel and holidays are a part of normal life. They're a force for good. They bring people together. They reunite families. They let people have a break. They're great for mental health. And that's one thing that's suffered over the last few months, people's mental health. Let's all get on holiday again. I'm very glad to be out of the UK. It's cold, wet, dark, miserable, and to be in the sun is fantastic. It's done my mental health a lot of good.
It is. Thanks for the advice. I think all the followers that are listening, they agree with that. I mean, in Mallorca, I feel the sun, I feel the vitamins. So let's come over to Spain. No, it's true, and you have all the reason about all the things that you were mentioning. I'm sure we all agree on that one. The lockdown just collapsed supply and demand, and to recover, as you say, will take several years. Gabriele, what would you add on that about your country's decisions or what you have seen on the different European?
I think that, of course, I share everything that Steve said, because we work in the same business and we see things very similarly. The beginning was I would say the difference of treatment of the policies to go in and go out of countries. So we got the point where to go to Spain, you had to do a PCR and then would last 72 hours, but to come back to Italy, you could do the other test that lasts 48. And then you have the passenger locator form if you want to go to Spain. If you want to travel in Italy, the other night I went to Sardinia. I went with Alitalia and I had to fill a 7-page electronic form. I came back from Sardinia to Milano with Wizz Air, no forms. So there are 2 flights inside of the Italian border. So do you really get lost? So I get lost and I'm working in the sector. Just think of people that are probably retired or people that want to take a short holiday. They get stuck with this with all these forms, and I think this upset people. The second things, we were really looking for the test that you could do with the saliva. I don't remember how to say, with the saliva, you know.
Yeah.
With the mouth and not with the nose. A lot of people hate this stuff in the nose. They consider it almost a torture, and this is incredibly a big block. A lot of people say, no, if I have to do this, no, I don't go for such a stupid thing for 2-3 seconds. But this again is a psychological issue. So I would say the difference has been enormous, and the difference between countries within Europe. Can you imagine when you go beyond the euros? Second thing, which was a big obstacle, was the decisions taken overnight. From tomorrow, you need a PCR. From tomorrow, you need to fill, I don't know how many forms. You know, in our business, we need to plan. We cannot stop flights overnight and open overnight. And, you know, the government the other day, they called me and say, you'll be happy because we opened 6 destinations from Italians to go to. You can now go to Maldives, to Dominican Republic, so you can start. No, I say I can start in a month. I can start in a month because we have an airline, we have 15 planes. You don't just put the keys and go. I know. And also, since we have not been going to these islands or to these places for a while, other countries have taken and purchased our rooms. So I have to, so it's slow. About safety, I think that the programs, we can be thankful that the vaccination program has been rather successful in Europe. We still have a percentage of people that we call them in Italy no-vax. They think that the vaccine, especially the one that is the MR, whatever, the Pfizer and Moderna are vehicles that then will be connected to the 5G telephones to control. No, you should listen to what people say in this. And so there's a lot of this stuff that should go. I would say that today we are slowly going to normality. I think that we will go there. But the situation has not been won. We need to work a lot, and probably even more now, to convince people. From one, we have to still fight or make this regulation more similar and more and get simpler and simpler and simpler over time. And the other side, we have to build back confidence in tourists, because the fear that most people have is what happens if I get sick in Maldives. And so and there I really hope that our business, so criticized, the tour operator guys will gain again his position, because we can, due to our system and technology, we can guarantee safety, we can guarantee procedure, we can guarantee that people can travel safely, much better than if they travel on their own.
Well, I think with the experience of the bankruptcy of Thomas Cook, you show it to all the world. But it's true that you are very necessary, but it's also true that it's not, as you were mentioning, because I hear it here from the politicians, that just start up the business, like if you press a button and everything starts. the airport opens up, the hotel, and then the clients arrive. So it's not so easy, and sometimes policies and all the norms have to take into account how it operates. So we should, the coordination is really, really very important. And that collaboration that we always ask, private, public, is essential. And we have seen it as all the barriers you were mentioning. So
Maria, just one thing. Arturo can tell us how many hotels did not open in the fear that they could not have a normal season, and how much capacity is still closed because people don't like to take the challenge of having a hotel open, possibly with no customers.
Arturo, do you have the figures in Spain?
We don't have the figures, the total figures right now, because many of the hotels were opening, but yes, you are right, many were closed for a long time. At the beginning, last summer of the pandemic, even 70–80% of the hotels of a certain destination were closed. Until the moment, there are still hotels that are closed since the beginning of the pandemic. Happily, this is gone and things are changing. Mallorca, I think most of the hotels were open for the summer. In the Canary Islands, most of the hotels are open, maybe not with full capacity, maybe with not full recovery. But looking ahead, the situation is better, but you are completely right. In the beginning of the pandemic and during the first almost year of the pandemic, a big chunk of the hotels had to be closed, sadly.
Well, it was a big difference. Last year, at least in the Balearic Islands, 50% of the hotels remained closed. But this year in the island of Mallorca, 88% of the hotels were open. So at the end, all were trying, of course, Easter time, nobody was sure about the options, but as soon as everything started to recover, although the barriers, the restrictions, and all the bureaucratical paper, there was a demand, and we noticed that. So we all keep opening and trying. So I think it's a good sign, no, that everybody wants to. And like Steve was mentioning, they all need to go on holidays. We need that sensation back. So probably it's going to be repeated.
Yeah, in fact, demand is pushing all the time, which is very good, the demand. Even last year with the German market, an average of 60,000 Germans visited Spain every month, with borders kind of closed, quarantines, PCRs. Even with all that, they kept pushing. And they keep pushing now, and that's a very good thing of the loyal demand that we have in the Mediterranean countries, and particularly in Spain.
Arturo, sorry. Gabriele, Steve, sorry. Yeah?
I think the other thing we need to do is push the politicians very hard to, bit by bit, scrap the rules that they have put in place. People talk about the new normal. I don't think anybody wants a new normal. I liked the old normal, and I want the old normal back. You know, I don't want to be this time next year filling a passenger locator form in. I don't want to be putting a cotton wool bud up my nose before I travel. I want to get back to the old normal. And once we are on top of this virus, and day by day we're getting more on top of it, all these rules should be scrapped. There should be not one bit of the rules that are currently in place to handle the virus still in place. We should get back to the old normal. The world functioned very well with the old normal. We've learned a lot from this virus, but governments should not hang on to the extra powers and the extra procedures and bureaucracy they've put in place. And I think as European citizens, as taxpayers, we need to lobby our governments to remove these restrictions and rules that have been put in place.
We all agree on that. If the situation gets much better, as it seems to, they should scrap the rules. And we all take the knowledge and the experience of this year and a half and use it in a positive way to do it better. Arturo,
exactly.
Arturo, I know you are presenting Tour España. You have a Congress of Tour España next week, and you are presenting the new marketing plan. Could you give us some ideas? Could you advance a little bit of it?
Some hints I think I can give you. The new strategic plan for Tour Spain is pivoting in two main aspects. One, where are we heading to, which is sustainability, and which tool we are using, which is digitalization as the main tool that it's to which we are adapting. It's not an aim; it's a tool we use for the second. So the Congress is going to focus in this sustainable demand for Spain, not only because we have detected that European tourists mainly are more concerned about sustainability, but because we needed to evolve as a country. So sustainability is taken into its three dimensions: environmental, which is normally what tourists are looking for; social, which is what we know need to develop the country, that they don't come in the same high season, that they don't come only to the same territories, but they spread all over the place; and economical, that we can keep growing with it and not putting an extra social or economic effort to bring them. So basically, the Congress will tap this sustainability aspect, this digitalization tool, and define segments of demand that will comply with these two things. Some focus in urban destinations, cities, some focused in inland, which with a big impact in not very much populated destinations, and some targeting coasts and islands, which are the main attraction we have in Spain as well, due to the weather and due to the school holidays. And we will differentiate some kinds of these sand and beach tourists in 2 or 3 groups, considering their interests, or if they come with family, or they come particularly looking for very good weather, or it's not that important, the weather. So it will be a new segmentation based on the demand. I think that's the main aspect that we'll be dealing with next week in Seville to the España convention.
Thank you, Arturo. Well, talking about short-term challenges, of course, you mentioned different products, different segments. I don't know if Steve and Gabriele could focus on how Spanish tourist product shall improve. I know there are some products that always work, but of course we have to keep improving products, promotions. So I don't know if you will focus the attention on different trends that you have seen or you notice. Gabriele?
I think that the hotel offer in Spain is rather good, because the hotels have been built in the last 20 years, most of them, and you see that the quality, it's in general, it's better than Italy or Greece, where the hotels are probably older. So from that point of view, I'm a great sponsor of Spain. And the second reason for which I'm a great sponsor is infrastructure. The amount of airports and connections and free or freeways, motorways connecting different parts of the country, in my opinion, are unique, without talking about the AVE fast train. So I think Spain has done a lot. In sustainability, there is no limit, of course, to what we can do. So I think it's something that countries must take very seriously. Otherwise, in few years, we will have no beach and no tourists, no beaches and no tourists. So we better hurry up, because otherwise, Steve and I, we will sell the ski vacations and not Mallorca and Canary Islands. So that is very, very serious. And I think everybody valued the issue, and is a wave that comes from many years ago and will go on for many years. So to stop this wave of problems that we have created in the recent industrial development is not an easy one, but we have to try. So and then probably Spain is the tourists too concentrated on the costs. Beautiful. And this is the debate I've been in. Member of Tour España for many years in an age, and this was always the challenge: how to move tourists inside Spain and not only on the coast. So that remains a challenge. Thank you,
Steve.
I agree on the cost element. We all have a responsibility to be very careful for summer 22. It's going to be very tempting to try and repair our balance sheets, to try and improve our cash balances through putting up prices. But we have to remember there are many, many people in the supply chain. Governments will increase taxes, transport companies, food companies, energy companies, hotels, airports, transfer companies, airlines, tour operators. And if we all put extra margin on to try and repair our balance sheets, the end products, the end price will become unattainable for many customers. I think we all have to take a very responsible approach to this and look at the recovery of our finances over a 2 or 3 year period rather than trying to repair them in year one. We will price lots of people out of the market. Now, in terms of product, Spain, in some cases, will find it very difficult to compete with, say, Turkey, who have private beaches, enormous bits of land, cheap labour, etc. But one thing that Spain can do is provide great customer service. People want to feel like royalty, really special when they're on holiday, and customer service is something that doesn't cost anything. Friendly, helpful people. Of course, as Gabriele said, infrastructure is a key part of it. The product in Spain over the last 10 years has improved enormously in almost every destination, and we have to keep the quality up. Customer service is so important, and that's where Spain can win the battle. It's not very far for people in the UK. It's local. It's perceived as being a safe place to drive, a place where people can wander around and go wherever they want. Customer service will be key. But again, as Gabriele says, Wi-Fi, connectivity, that's very important to people. And the last thing, sustainability. This will become more important every year. Last week, we launched our sustainability programme, and in summer 22, we will be...
Steve, stop. We cannot hear Steve right now. He was talking about the... Steve, sorry. No, we lost Steve for the moment.
Hello, I'm back.
Sorry, you were gone for some seconds, so you launched the sustainability program.
Sorry, yes, and in summer 22, we will be putting an accreditation scheme in whereby hoteliers can apply to be given a sustainability rating. And this is something that customers are asking for more and more. What is the carbon footprint? What's the airline doing about sustainability? What is the hotel doing about sustainability? And it will become a key feature of people's holiday choice. More and more people are asking our advisors, does the hotel still have plastic straws? What is its policy on linen? That sort of thing. What sort of energy? Does it have solar power? And I think it's something that hoteliers, airlines, tour operators will have to communicate to the customers. People will want to go greener. Some because they want to go greener, others because they are forced to go greener, because COP26 conference is in 5 weeks' time. Governments all over the world are getting ready to put taxes up everywhere, and that's what governments will do. An easy tax to put in place is a green.
Thank you, Steve. I couldn't agree more. I think sustainability, of course, is getting each day and each year much more, taking much more important. We were talking about sustainability. I think we all know how the responsibility we all have. And it's true that customers are demanding that ourselves in our firms, and we all want to show it and to communicate it properly. It doesn't have to be only said, but you have to show it in facts. And we have to monitorize the evolution and how the transformation is going through about sustainability in the industry. Here in the islands and in Mallorca, we are going to use the tool of the circular economy to push this new era or towards a new intelligent, responsible and sustainable tourism. We are sure we can achieve it. Although, as we were saying before, the coordination and alignment with the public authorities, it has to be perfect, because you cannot change the sustainability of the destination along with the private sector. It has to be a combination. Arturo, do you want to add something about that issue that we were talking right now?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah,
Yes, sustainability is picking up in the German market, especially because the newer generation come as well with this concern. So we have seen in the surveys an increased search for sustainable tourist destinations. Maybe they don't end up buying because it's more expensive, or because they don't find it on the spot. And they don't find it on the spot because it's not well communicated many times. At the same time, in the last surveys, the price is getting more flexible in terms of customer accepting higher prices for what they think it's sustainable. So at the end, sustainability, it's turning out in a win-win situation. It's something the demand wants and is ready to pay for more and more. And it's something the offer is adjusting to, because companies want it, employees want it, and the general population want it for themselves as well as for the guests that are coming. So both demand and offer are meeting or joining together in these sustainable efforts in what is really a win-win situation. It's not greenwashing, definitely.
Exactly, win-win situation, I agree. I will ask from all of you a sentence or how you foresee, I know you mentioned it before a bit, the season 2022. 1 or 2 sentences to give our followers just what is the perspective or what are your sensations now about next season? Steve?
Yeah.
I think summer 22 is a huge opportunity for us all. If governments don't make things more difficult and don't reduce confidence and let us get on and do our jobs, I think summer 22 will be a very good year. But as I said, one thing we cannot do is waste the chance. We can't get greedy, we can't get complacent, and we have to give the customers what we want in terms of Spain. For hoteliers, for tourist boards, for governments, please don't look at the hotel next door or the resort next door. You have to look at all your competitors overseas, because they will be getting very, very aggressive on pricing and on marketing.
Thank you, Steve. Gabriele?
I think I would say in line with what I mentioned before, from one side, we are just starting, and so let's not feel the thing is behind us. We have to still convince, especially the scientists, as it was said, because also in Italy, they really lead the decisions, and convince that some risk must be taken. Otherwise, we will be all alive but dead, and economically dead. So there is a balance. At one point, there is a balance. And as a tour operators, I think we are in a business that we can really add a lot and rebuild trust. The insurance, the procedures, the technology. I think we can rebuild trust in our customers. And so I'm at this point I'm positive, because we know what we have to do. We will be very optimistic when we will have succeed. But today I think we know. The last point I wanted to ask Steve if I can use the old normal expression as mine also.
Absolutely. Yes, it's yours. It's a gift.
Thank you.
Arturo, do you want to add something?
Yes, thank you, Maria. I think we are looking ahead at a quite good winter season, and probably very good summer season. Maybe not as it used to be yet, because there are lots of plans ahead for, particularly in the German market, for people who want to take holidays who couldn't take them. But there are much more dreams about taking holidays in the future. So we have lots of people planning, and much more people dreaming of planning trips to Spain. That is what the survey showed to us compared to the pre-pandemic situation. We have more people wanting to travel to Spain, but not have organized yet their trips.
Well, that's normal, last minute, or they will wait. That's something they learned this year, But if they are dreaming and we are all positive, I think the trend is that it could be a very successful season, the 2022. So that's what we have to take it, no? We do not waste that chance because we have everything to take opportunity of. Well, I will just wanted to thank you all. I think they remind me there was 1 minute. So thank you very much, Steve, Gabriele, and Arturo for your contributions of value and the knowledge you share with us. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I will give pass to the next round table and I should do it in Spanish.
Muchas gracias, entonces. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. See you in Mallorca next time.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.